Alrighty. Alrighty. This is Phantasy Star Generation 4, and we are going live. We should be live. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, so... Yeah, this is Phantasy Star Generation 4. I have never really solicited a... Oh, let me make this a separate window. Yeah, so I decided to ask today if anyone wants to join me in here. Feel free that take questions, etc. Yeah, mainly I'm hoping to finish this playthrough maybe even today. And I'm at Garuberk Tower. Let's see. Yeah, let's get rid of everything else. Yeah, so, yeah, in case people had questions for me or anything, I wanted to... Oh, wait, do we gotta go? We do. Yeah, let's go back to town first. Let's see the left and then get going. Yeah, so I really just wanted to... do this stream as just kind of a, have, an archive, of my work and everything. But, yeah, since it's, maybe the last day that I'm doing this, and, I've got the time, I figured I should open it up to see if anyone has any questions or anything, because why not? Yeah, I've never done a stream on my own before, so this is kind of a new thing. But yeah, I figured give anyone the chance if they wanted to for some reason. Yeah, and then, I spoke a little bit before about, I really just did this, as a fan, because I really, really love Phantasy Star, and I just wanted to make some very small changes to fix the translation inconsistencies that Phantasy Star 4 had in English, and, it turned into, quite a project that, basically, scope creep, or whatever they call, whatever Star Citizen's doing, except I'm not, squeezing millions of dollars from people, Yeah, but it's been a lot of fun, anytime you got, oh, that's why. I kept misreading this map before. Tower's not very complicated, but, yeah, for some reason, this is my least favorite area in the whole game. I don't really even know why, I just really hate it. It feels like the encounter rate is higher, and I feel like I get snuck up on a lot by enemies, although I really doubt that's the case. And I'm sure if I wanted to, I could go into the code and, learn about the encounter rate, and, you can adjust all that stuff. It's all just, mathematical formulas that are in the code. Oh, that's what I was going to do, since I've kind of run out of stuff I feel like to talk about, and, we're just going to have to go through the, dungeon here. And, while I was off camera, I already ran through, a bunch of this dungeon. So I took care of the eyeballs and, the morphing eyeballs and everything. Yeah, it's just got this, this annoying crap on the floor. It just, gets in your way. I don't know, I just hate it. But yeah, so... Oh yeah, so that's what I was going to do. To explain the file system, which I don't think... I'm not sure if I ever did that, so I thought... I was trying to think of something different to talk about today as, we kind of wind down the playthrough, and I can finally have a full archive of it. So anytime people, are curious about it, we're about to have our second baby next year. I'm about to buy a house. Your life changes, your time for gaming changes as well, and, that doesn't mean you don't make time, for the things that are important to you, but, like I wrote for Hardcore Gaming 101 last year during the pandemic. So, I was looking for things to do. I played through every classic Shining game, including the ones I'd never played through, which were Shining in the Darkness and all of Shining Force 3, which is very long. And yeah, for like Shining in the Darkness, I just played through with a Game Genie codes, and like on my console and everything through an EverDrive, and I do have a copy of the game, but yeah, that just made it like a lot easier. And someone like on the I don't want to say who because it'll be, I don't want to load them up, but someone on a forum that I don't post on anymore, who has a different life situation, than I do, let's say, was just like, oh, you're not like a real gamer because you didn't, play through this, how many hour dungeon crawler, without cheating. And I was like, look, I like, I don't really, have the time or the inclination to really, do this. So, like, do you think it's better if I, had just never, would you think it's better if I just never, played this at all? Or, I'm so happy that I got to finally, experience, like, the art and the music. And, a lot of times with, like, classic games, some you can, really make the time for to kind of, power through as they were made. But, obviously even, like, Sega, like with Phantasy Star 1 on the Switch, did, some really nice improvements to it. I wish they would, I wish anytime companies did this stuff, they would upgrade, the text as well. But they did even some things that the Phantasy Star Master System retranslation couldn't do, which is have a dungeon like tracker. Like as you go through the dungeon, you don't need like your own like graph paper, or just to go line by line, watching a map and trying to remember where you are and everything. So like these things help, and it's as I've gotten older and realize as your as your life experiences you get in different places basically. It's still good if you enjoy these older games. It's I don't think it's very helpful to just be like, well, if you don't play it the way it was, then you shouldn't play it at all, or you're not like a real gamer. Like I just, the older I get, the less and less I think gatekeeping of any kind is very helpful, because you just turn people away. The fighting game community that I used to be really involved in, like I said, I used to, just for fun, we started what became like an international tournament and everything called Seasons Beatings. There was a lot of gatekeeping back then because it was like a very like old school arcade, come from the arcades kind of culture, and you take your beatings and you're like happy about it, and that's how you like level up. There's value and truth to that in some ways too, but as I saw like in my local area, here in Cleveland, at least, that we had a number of people who were interested in fighting games, and then because the main people, and I could be one of them too, we're not like super welcoming to like newer people. You just kind of kept like your own like like your own like in jokes, and I don't know, you just not really like that inclusive. Kind of the more time went on, the less I you see people dropping out of the scene, or not sticking around. And sorry, look at this map. Oh, it goes down the floor. 7, this is right. Yeah, so, and there's some, Phantasy Star focused fan places that, I've left because, they're focused, I feel like, on things that are more, unimportant, really, that I would say, focus on, like, stuff like that, rather than just, like, being welcoming to, like, new people, making other people's opinions, have validity. People feel valued. We all come from different places, so we, tend to have different opinions because we're not all the same, and that's a good thing. Like with the feedback, on this project, like I said before, I thought it was like the most, it was like the greatest thing. It's like probably the greatest fan hack like ever made or anything, and people pointed out like a lot of problems with it early on, and some of the character choices that I made were maybe out of character, a bit, Alice's personality was a bit too strong, and I forgot some of the things that like maybe make like a really great character, I guess, by being being kind of like hyper focused on a few things. So like I said, I don't need to be so close in here. And I want to show you my awesome Nights into Dream shirt that I just got from the Sega shop. Yeah. So here we go. So we got some dialogue here. Nothing very interesting. This dialogue didn't really need to change at all. Yeah, so I changed this to biosignatures instead of just saying it's not similar to any object that was on Chiron, because, we weren't really scanning for objects. It was, I think Ren would be scanning like, like a, some kind of organic signature from here, and not like an inanimate object, which is what I feel like object implies. So I think that's really probably all I changed here. Yeah, so this is all, barely changed. Yeah. Yeah, so, and I just changed, instead of let's go everybody, and said, and this time we're ready, because, they fought him once before, and obviously that's probably not in the purest patch. Little Harmony Darkness there, I couldn't help it. But, that's why, and I've had a couple people, be like, well, I can't choose between, like, the two patches, so I'm just, like, not going to play either. That's fine. I understand, actually, because I'd like to play, and I've probably said this a couple times before, I'd like to play FF4, and I have my Super NES cartridge that I've had forever, which I started and got, I don't know, like, 40% through. Well, that helps. But there's so many fan hacks of, like, the Square games, and it's, kind of frustrating to, and I have ADHD, and it can be hard to make, like, oftentimes I know exactly what I want, and it's, it's easy to choose something, like, right away, because I know exactly what I want. But then many other times I want to make the best decision possible, and I don't want to make sure I don't want to waste, my time, with something that's maybe not, like, the optimal experience. Oh, wow, it's a lot of damage. So, yeah, it can be, like, really hard. Oh, no. Let's get that heal out. Yeah, to choose, like, fan hacks when there's, like, 10,000 of them. And you want to be like, why? Like, why? Even in, like, one patch, why did there need to be, like, 5 versions of this? It's just really confusing. And it just makes me, like, not do any of them. Yeah, this is it's another battle that can be, really easy, or, can be hard. Really depending on, the kind of stuff that he does to you. I bet no Watt does more than Tandle. Yeah, and I guess, basically I was mostly trying to make, the spells match, like, Generation 1, Generation 2. Okay, that's good. Tandle was an interesting one, because it's called Tandle in Phantasy Star 4, and, the names of the spells, which I'm sure I talked about this before, the names of the Rune and Kyra's spells in Phantasy Star 4 are supposed to be identical to the spells, the magic from Phantasy Star 1. Sorry, Gisar. Let's use SAR and see what happens. It'll be okay. But yeah, like, you know, so, you know, they weren't... You know, like, the translation's basically, like, all over the place, you know, for all these games, which was one of the things I wanted to try to set out and fix. But there's no perfect way to do that, because it's like, oh, depending on which Phantasy Star you played first, you know, like, for me, that spell, the Thunder spell is always going to be, so you can, like, he's going to do this stuff to us, like, what, every round now? Yeah, obviously none of this is you know, again, it's not as hard as, you know, Phantasy Star 2 Dark Force, but, you know, it's still, like, a lot of luck at the draw. I think the last battle is, like, really easy, pretty much, by the time, you know, because when you're able to have Raja in your party, you don't have to rely on Rika's group heal. Now we're in business. Let's use another force field. She can use a heal. Everyone else can do their thing. Oh, Rayblade probably. Rayblade might do more at this point. Crosscut eventually does more than Rayblade. But Rayblade I think just does around like 300. Like, no matter what weapon you have. Alright. Let's use our rockets. Heal him again. Yeah, and having that Silver Fang really helps with Rika. Yeah, the first rocket probably doesn't do more than... Flare might do more. Yeah, Kyra's good, but really miss Raja, you know, having that, you know, heals your technique points. You know, that's like almost broken. Yeah, and having, you know, his heals his magic is also super strong anyway, and you know, having all the group heal stuff is just way too good. Okay. Yeah, so originally he just says yes. Like, that's not very interesting. Like, let's pump everyone up. Yeah, instead of saying the wave stopped, I don't know, it just seems ceased, just seems like it makes more sense. So again, you know, a lot of this is just like, you know, a little like massaging the script a little bit, you know, nothing too crazy. And if you played it for the first time, you probably wouldn't know, you know, or if you haven't played it in a long time, you wouldn't know that like these one or two words, you know, choices are different, you know, here or there. But, you know, for me, you know, reading the script, this script as an adult, you know, were things that, you know, I just, like, noticed. And, you know, just wanted to make, you know, read as well as possible. Yeah, it just seemed like a better fit instead of saying, like, you know, for her to say no problem. It just seemed like, you know, mentioned something, you know, just mentioned she's, you know, got a pretty bubbly personality. So instead of saying I'm glad for you, you know, just be like, you know, oh, it's all right, all worked out. Yeah, and I don't know why the original script had like just like a baby brother. Like, I think this reads, you know, it makes a lot more sense just having ellipsis, like, or not. It just, I don't know, it just doesn't, it just seems off to me to have, like, just like a baby brother. Yeah, so instead of, like, don't be ridiculous, you know, have him say something like this. I did get to have a little fun here with another line coming up. Yeah, and again, like, if I thought, like, a line read, really well in the original, I didn't want to change everything, just for the sake of changing it, like, so I think that line is really well said. Like, you were a little different from my expectations, but you certainly did not bring shame to your name. That's something that, fits her character, and I think is, like, very well said. And, to clarify, because he says, huh, like, oh, yes, in the original, he's calling me, so I want to clarify, like, what he must be saying yes to, I think he's saying, like, yes, maybe maybe we will meet again. Instead of wondering, oh, is he saying, oh, yes to, oh, I didn't bring shame to my name, and I wasn't paying attention, or that we might meet again. Yeah, so, kind of a strange, she called me her baby brother. Am I that undependable? Is what, the original line was, and, I think he'd be more, happy that, he's, like, bulked up, and, he can, like, kick ass, basically. So. And the original, the Rune's line was, well, you have improved some, but you're still a lot like me, is kind of a mistranslation. The note in TCRF says, you're still far away from matching me. So, like, yeah, what was in the English is just wrong, it's, like, literally the opposite of what it was supposed to say, so, I thought it'd be funnier just for Rune to just say, instead of, you're like me or you're not like me, just kind of like, oh, because Rudy's next line anyway, in the original is like is comparing himself to Rune, so I just thought this was a funnier, and this is my friend who I used to run my tournament with, Seasons Beatings, who is like 8 years older than me, so he treated me kind of like a little brother. He used to call me mockingly, even though I was like a good one of the best Street Fighter players in the Midwest. He would call me the legendary Grandmaster Dragon of the Midwest, just to like kind of be like a jerk and like laugh at me. So thought it'd be nice for Rudy to make up a ridiculous, grandiose title for Mr. Runelets here. Yeah, and Rune's saying, like, he said, like, do you want to get whooped again? And, I guess he showed him, like, his fist there, but, obviously they never, like, physically brawl, so, like, that line really doesn't make any sense. Yeah, and I changed, Rika's line to, instead of just being like, oh, you guys never quit, to, something a little more fun. Oh yeah, and I talked in the last video, last part, that Gumbia's Temple is set, like, that's where Corona Tower it is, or was, and they say that even in the original, in the script, so, I don't know why they decided to rename it Gumbia's Temple. I can never find a reason for that or anything, but, and obviously, the creators did it, so, that's a valid choice, obviously. But, I thought just to make it more obvious, and, again, just to tie, Phantasy Star 4 is supposed to really be tying, games all together. And there's probably never going to be another one, as we've seen. This is 2021. This came out in 93 in Japan, I think 94 in America. And I think I don't have these guys. they're supposed to be a little more educated, so, and they, they've got theoretically more access to, like, off-world resources and, the highest, education on the planet, so, I don't have, like, the accent, that slight accent here with these guys. Yeah, so remember, he has a name, and, this guy has a name, too. So, it seems a little odd to me that they would give them, character portraits, but not name, any of these characters. So, everyone who has a character portrait, I think, has an actual name. So, does their name matter? Like, not really, but, it's something that we know. It's something part of lore, so it's like, why not put it in there? Okay, let's go to the next part of the script. I don't think anything... And now that we're getting to the end of the game, there are, okay, yeah, so TCRF says the prototype English and the regular English were both incorrect. Yeah, so the bishop is 2,000 years old and not the temple, which is really interesting. And, the TCRF even notes here that an NPC noted earlier in the game, Corona Tower was this place. So, I don't know why they wouldn't just call it Corona Temple, I mean, it was obviously like an important sacred place. So again, like, is that kind of thing going to make or break the game? No, but, it's just nice to know that, I just like it to be as, correct as possible. Because that's, like, what was there. Yeah, since long ago, I said, time uncounted, just to be a little more flowery, language, a little more epic. Yeah, and Ruiner originally says, oh, like, is he putting some pieces together, or, I don't know, this just like, no, like, it can't be, like, kind of reaction makes, I just feel like, makes more sense for him. Yeah, so, this doesn't sound good. I'm not a big fan of that phrase, so, just go with the old Star Wars, have a bad feeling about this. Yeah, and he gives Dark Force a male pronoun here, which, in Japanese, he almost certainly is not going to have a male pronoun, in this sentence. So I think it, is more closer, in English. Oh, Rycross was interesting, because, oh geez, I'd have to bring, if you look up, on my project page, I have where I got, someone did, all the katakana for, like, bosses and weapons and items and things like that for a whole bunch of games. Like, I don't know, I think some of the Mana games are maybe in there, the Chrono games. Phantasy Star 4 is one of the games that he just listed all the, katakana for, all, like, the proper nouns, like, in the entire game, which is really, really cool. So, that site was a huge help to me. So I always call it Rycross, but Rycross is probably, well, I guess it is, that would be the official, phonetic, pronunciation, Rycross. And if it was Rycross, it would probably have two S's. So it is Rycross based on the Japanese. Yeah, and the priest said it has become something that is beyond your control. So I massage this dialogue a little bit, to kind of try to explain what the script seems like it would be saying. Because the TCRF says profound darkness has become something beyond its control. So, obviously this is not, in our control, what Prevent Darkness is doing, at least yet. But, so just expanding, making this correct is basically like, it can't even control itself. It's just a force of nature. Yeah, and he just says, if it can't lay its hands on it, it's not going to let you get a hold of it. I know, it's just, kind of confusing, I think. So. Okay, gotta go to the other script. Well, let's see. Search for Rycross. Yeah, the TCRF runs out here for some reason. What does he say? He says, it is the place where all the secret answers lie. I mean, seems like, I don't know, little redundant, so just all the answers lie, just change it. Oh yeah, so I had a lot of we really had to think about what these little riddles, how they could be best communicated in the span of like one little text box like this. So this is how we distilled. So the original was when Whitecross returns, the arrow prism will show the way, and just wanted to make it more of like sound more like a riddle, in English. So this is what we came up with, and now I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe arrow prism should be one word. They probably just put a dash in it because it's I don't know. If it was a proper noun and item, maybe they had to write it in all caps in the original. It says, I know nothing else. So instead of saying I know nothing else, he just says this is the only clue that I have. Oh yeah, so this is the line that we really struggled with. So Rune says, the light of the arrow prism, which illuminates everything, which, light of the arrow prism, when it should be a comma, which illuminates everything, the original line. So again, we wanted to make kind of like a riddle here, and we really had to think about like what the heck the arrow prism is and like what it does, because it does something pretty different in each game. In Phantasy Star 1, it reveals the air castle, which was hidden in plain sight, basically. It's floating around the sky of Palma, and you shine the arrow prism, and now you can see, the air castle when you're on the top of by a melee tower. And in 2, Let's gives you the arrow prism, and it reveals, again, what's hidden in plain sight, the all the dungeons that hold the Nei weapons, or Nei weapons. So again, they're objects out in like plain daylight, but you just can't see or interact with them without the arrow prism. But it does something pretty different in Phantasy Star 4. It shows like a location of a planet, like out in deep space. Those things are all pretty different. I mean, different in that they're in like really different places. So it's like, okay, well, what relationship do these, how? Just trying to think about like how does this work? Like how does this item like work? And trying to distill all that to come up with like a one line, again like a riddle that would fit the object's description for all 3 games. Is kind of like challenging. It takes some thought. And I just think the light of the arrow prism that illuminates everything. Like, yeah, you could use that as like a very, very general, but it's also not very poetic. So I don't know. We just wanted something more specific, and something that sounds more like a riddle, basically. Yeah. And I just thought this is cooler to say. Well, it's up to you to shape history, and what name should, history remember you by, rather than saying, all hope is on you, I just think it's a little more epic and more building off of what, he's trying to say. Yeah, and this really is his spelling in the Japanese version. And it's really more like Ashley. Obviously, I just call him Rudy Ashley still. And you could pronounce it like, Ashley. You could pronounce it. Does that make sense? This spelling of Ashley, you can still pronounce Ashley in English, and, it still makes sense. There's multiple ways to pronounce that. But his name in Japanese really should be pronounced Ashley. So if you're the kind of person that bothers you, now you know, based on the katakana. Yeah, and obviously the English version just called him Ashley to save characters. Ashley. Yeah, so, yeah, again, trying to make this sound a little more epic. Instead of, I trust you with this mission. Oh, and I was trying to remember why, yay. There's Demi. Oh, and I kind of skipped over it, but the soldier's temple is supposed to be the soldier's sanctuary. Oh, and we need a vehicle that can travel across the lake. Sure, I fixed that. Hopefully I fixed that Ren's previous line there. Oh, interesting. In TCRF, I noticed, like, the bishop kind of, he says, like, I entrust you with this, like, mission or whatever, young, like, ... and that's why Rudy offers his name. But, I like the way the English kind of did it, by asking you, like, how will history, call you? I like that a lot better, what the English did. And our new awesome thing. Yeah, and another great thing about Phantasy Star 4 is that there's never, like with your party, there's never like 6 of you, but, oh, like, well, one of you just has to, like, sit on the bench while the rest of us fight monsters. At least the game gives you, like, a good reason that, your party stays at 5 people. And, you might overlook that because it's so common in RPGs just to have, like a party of, like, 8 and 3 of you, do all the fighting and the other ones just stand around. But if you think about it, that's silly. It doesn't make any sense, like any kind of logical sense. And obviously I know it's, they're fantasy games and everything and, whatever. But, that doesn't necessarily mean it's great storytelling or anything like that. So Phantasy Star does a really good job of what characters, join you. They're all with you, for a reason. They're with you at this part of the journey for a good reason. No one's just, like, tagging along because they're bored, Except maybe Sure in PS2. Alright, so let's go to... Probably going to... Yeah. So I'm gonna... Since we're back on Motavia, I'm gonna stop here and stop this episode and do the guild missions. So we're gonna end this episode, and we're gonna do the guild missions, and then